to do that. Happy to do that.
Perfect.
Okay. So here we go. Welcome to another episode of Bold Movers and Shakers, interviews that rock the boat. I am thrilled to pieces to have Chip Conley with me. He is a modern day sage, in my humble opinion, but I think that's pretty unanimous. I happened to see Chip on Impact Theory, and something in me went, I have to talk to this man. And so he said yes.
Yay!
Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Alexis. You know, it's an honor to be with you and all of your manic energy.
Woo! I'm freaking Tigger, baby.
Yeah, no, I love it.
It wasn't always that way, so I'm
really tell us. So wait, let me interview you. So you were not so full of energy before?
No, not at all, bro. I was depressed for about 40 years. And at 8 years old, I overdosed on baby aspirin because it was a cry for help. And my parents said, go back to bed. They didn't even open the door. Like, I had the message, you're not wanted. You don't belong here, since I was that big. And it was, I am a walking, talking body of work and I've distilled all that metaphysical, personal growth and development down into some pithy one-liners and mindset resets, because I believe we can all make the rest of our life the best of our life, but it shouldn't take the rest of your life to do it. And if I can do it, former energy vampire right here, if I can do it, anybody can do it. So that's my story.
All right. Well, I'm proud to be and honored to be with you.
Aw, thank you. The feeling is very, very mutual. As you know from my email, I wanted to take a different angle with you because there's so many shows that feature your work, which I think is amazing, and it's why I wanted to talk with you in part. What I wanted to do, though, is find the man behind the story, and not necessarily pry like too much, but like, how is it that you've come to do what you're doing? I mean, we just off camera a second ago, you were talking about, like, oh yeah, I can tell you that about making a bold move and what that's like. And that's what this show's really about, is to encourage people to step off the curb. It's not a chasm, guys, it's a curb. and cross the street and watch the traffic. It'll actually like slow down, and they'll even wave you through, but not if you're still standing on the curb. You've got to walk out and try it. So
yeah, so I guess I'll give you 3 quick examples, and then you can ask me more.
Okay.
When I took a bold move, when in fact there were lots of reasons I could have an excuse to say, no, I'm not going to do that. So there's 3 over the course of my career. When I was 26, I decided to start my own boutique hotel company. Now, let's be honest. I had 0 background in hotels. I was a real estate developer. But at age 26, like, what kind of real estate developer are you? So I was a commercial real estate developer that was doing office buildings and things like that. And then all of a sudden I said, you know what? I'm fascinated by hotels. I like the idea of making people feel good. And the boutique hotel movement in the mid-1980s was just getting off the ground. So I started a company and I called it Joie de Vivre, which means joy of life in French. Yes. And it ultimately, over 24 years, grew into the 2nd largest boutique hotel company in the U.S.
Crazy.
But I bought a motel in the Tenderloin, which is a tough neighborhood in San Francisco.
Sure.
And that's how I got started. So that was a bold move. And there's a guy named Stuart Brand who's created the Whole Earth catalog. He's sort of Steve Jobs' idol. And he says you got to start cheap, small, and local.
I like it.
Cheap, small, and local. And that's what I did. I mean, it was like this little 44-room motel in a bad neighborhood that was pay by the hour. And I decided to turn it.
Now that's cheap on a different level, Holmes.
Yes, cheap. It was cheap. And then it became this place called the Phoenix, which was my first of 52 boutique hotels. And so that in that case, I did a bold move. I mean, I took action because inside me, I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, making people feel good. And hotels felt like a form of real estate where I could do that.
So that was a big yes to you. And by definition, a big yes is that thing that is like, you should do this. And it can look crazy to everybody else, right?
Yes.
But it works out, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, if you looked at it, it's like anything. The caterpillar to butterfly journey is very gooey in between, because it's you're in the caterpillar's in a chrysalis and it's literally liquefying itself. So sometimes if you looked halfway through something, it's like eating a meal halfway through the cooking of it. You don't want to eat it halfway through. It's actually supposed to be fully cooked. The question is, when is fully cooked? And is it, when it's fully cooked, does it taste like shit? I mean,
Right.
the bottom line is for 24 years ran that company, loved it until I hated it. It was one of those things where it was binary. It was like, the light switch was on or off. There was no dimmer. And when it turned off, I needed to figure out how to get out of there. And that was in the Great Recession. So yeah.
So one of the things I wanted to ask you about, Chip, is that I know you had 9 episodes of flatlining.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry for your friend's loss. That would have been very
Yeah.
dramatic. When you came back from that episodes, and you decided, I'm done. Had you been thinking I'm done before that moment, before you?
No. So what I'd been thinking, I to be honest with you, so this was 2008.
Yeah.
Started the company in 1986, 1987. 22 years into it. At that point, I was like, I don't like this anymore. I loved it for so long. And then we were going into the Great Recession. I'm like, I just don't want to do this anymore. I had been writing books and giving speeches, and that had been going well for me. And now I had 3,500 employees, and I was mama, papa bear for everybody. And everybody looks to me when we go into a recession, and I'd gone through the dot-com bust with them, and we come out the other side pretty well. But now on this one, I really didn't feel like, the gladiator. I felt like the prisoner, and I had invisible handcuffs on. My friend Chip committed suicide. This is strangely with the same name I have, and he was the person I really relied on for a lot of guidance. And when the person you rely on for guidance actually commits suicide, and he has the same name you have, ouch. And my life was falling apart in a lot of different ways. So weirdly, I had not been thinking about, selling my company. I didn't think that was even a possibility in the recession. I had literally been thinking about, like, do I need to end my life? I was really, I never got to the point of actually trying suicide, but I actually did contemplate a moderate amount. And so then I broke my ankle playing baseball and at a bachelor party, and then it turns out I had fertilizer in a cut on my leg, and I got a septic leg, which led me to being on antibiotics. And then I was giving a speech in St. Louis on crutches and antibiotics, where of course I shouldn't have been there. I should have been like at home in bed in San Francisco.
Overachiever, you?
Yeah, exactly. And I was there, and then at the end of the talk, I was signing books, and I slumped down in my chair unconscious. And
it's not a good look.
They put, no, no, it's not, not at all. And so I ended up on the floor with my shirt open as they were trying to, like, revive me. And then the paramedics showed up and put heart monitors on me. And that was the first time I went flatline. And that was the first of 9 times over 90 minutes. But that experience was an experience that almost like a divine intervention to sort of say, you know what, maybe there are other choices. You don't have to kill yourself.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be in agony, in handcuffs. You could figure out a way to get to the other side. And I just want to say, I mean, like, wow, it took 2 years, and it was in the depths of the recession. And I had to be moderately silent within my company about what my plans were, which was hard. But ultimately I sold the company and stayed on as executive chair for a year and a half. And then all of a sudden in 2012, I had some space in my life. And it was soon after that the 3 millennial founders of Airbnb approached me, and they said, would you like to help us democratize hospitality? We have this little small tech startup that would like to be a hospitality brand, and you're an entrepreneur and you're a hospitality leader. You could help us. And this is another bold move. Just like, okay, well, I'm 52 years old. You guys are half my age. The company is a tech company, and I've never worked in a tech company before. And it would have been very easy to say no. Also, all my friends who heard I was like talking to Airbnb said, why would you ever talk to them? That's like a stupid idea. Home sharing. Like, come on. It's never going to go anywhere. Like, Chip, what are you doing? And so, but I really liked Brian. Brian Chesky was the CEO, a young millennial CEO. And what I liked about him was the fact that he was very curious. And in my conversations with him, he was curious. I got curious. He got more curious. We had this growth mindset together. And next thing I knew, I said yes. And I spent 6.5 years now, 4 of them in a full-time role, helping to run the company with them. And then 2.5 years now as just a strategic advisor. And yes, the story of Airbnb is a pretty amazing story. It was
It is.
steering a rocket ship.
It is. One of the things that I want to like go right to, Chip, is that first of all, there's a lot of people saying there's no way I can get hired, and there is. And you know, your philosophy about being an elder is both being an intern as well as a mentor. Listen in public, mentor in private. Those are all wonderful pieces of advice. And for the people that are finding themselves, oh, hang on, I got hired and everybody is half my age. But I wanted to ask you something about that in particular. Young people, not to generalize, but anyway, may or may not have the openness. I mean, they might like out of training as children revere somebody for their age, but other than that, they've been hired for their smarts. And so what I was curious about is, do you think maybe even further down the road, not necessarily your experience at Airbnb or even with, you know, when I saw your Google talk and, you know, like they're brilliant minds and they're brilliant because they're open-minded, but not every company is like that. No. How does, right? How, and neither is their leader. You know, can an old dog be taught new tricks? And can the younger people realize we can learn from each other? Like, that's not a weird thing, guys. And have the ego go away and have it really be a leveled playing field for the benefit of all good. I mean, do we need to have some sort of training for the people that are there and people come in that are like you?
I think, you know, part of the reason we'll talk about it in a few minutes, I created something called the Modern Elder Academy, was to do at least part of this equation. If there's 2 parts to the equation, one part is the older people. How do we mint modern elders, and what is a modern elder? I'll come back to that. And secondly, then how do we create openness among millennials or Gen Xers about people who are older and what they can offer them? And I'll start with the first piece, the modern elder piece. Well, because I know that piece, that's my story. That's part of the reason I wrote the book, Wisdom at Work, The Making of a Modern Elder, which tells my story of joining Airbnb. But what happened is I was writing the book, I was researching how people feel about midlife. And what I heard was just this intense amount of anxiety and bewilderment about where we are, because we're going to probably live 10 years longer than our parents, and yet power in a digital society is moving 10 years younger. So what that leads us to is, if you're 50 years old, let's say,
you got a gap.
You know you're going to live longer, but how are you going to pay for it? Because frankly, if it turns out it's harder to get a job because all that power is moving to people, you know, in their 30s or 20s, because companies are more and more enamored with digital intelligence, what I call DQ. That's tough. And so what we do, part of the reason I created the Modern Elder Academy on a 3-acre campus on the beach in Mexico, 1 hour north of Cabo San Lucas in Baja California Sur, was because I saw there were a lot of people who had mastery and wisdom in their life, but they'd sort of lost track of it. And the question was, how could they repurpose it? And how could they shift their mindset? You talked about mindset earlier, Alexis. So how could they change their mindset to imagine that, in fact, this is the best time in their life coming up?
Yes.
So, and what's interesting is the U curve of happiness, which has been studied by social scientists. It's very clear across all countries except for Russia, and Russia, I'll tell you about Russia in a minute, but what it shows is that basically from about 25 to 45, people generally are in a their sense of happiness and satisfaction in life goes down on average between 25 to 45-ish. And then at 45 to 50, somewhere in that range, you sort of bottom out. For me, my flatline experiences were at age 47, strangely. So you bottom out in 47, let's say. And then things start to get better. And people are happier in their 50s than their 40s. They're happier in their 60s than their 50s. And they're happier in their 70s than their 60s. So the only difference is in Russia, there's some weird statistical thing that shows that people are happiest after they die. I don't know how they do that, but then no, the statistics are like, wait, how would that?
Because lifestyle sucks and death is better.
I don't know, but I've read it now in 2 articles, and both articles that I thought they were saying a joke, but they said no. It actually sort of like it doesn't make sense. How do you can't life satisfaction doesn't count after you've died.
Hey, the statistics need to stay on planet Earth. You can't do that.
I know. So
I've died before, and it's very peaceful.
We should. Yeah, you died before?
Yes, I have.
Wow, talk about that.
Yeah, I was. I shouldn't have been at the beach. Hurricane was out over Cuba. I was probably 12. My brother and I thought, yeah, this will be good for body surfing. So we rode our bikes over there, and our rafts. And guess who was there? George Lifeguard. George the Lifeguard said, "I'll take you guys out past where the waves are breaking over the pier." And so we were just kind of like doing some swells, and I was getting seasick. I said, "I'm going in. I'm a good swimmer. I'll see you." And the waves that at the break point, the undertow, the break point, I couldn't find up. And I knew what was happening, and face of sand, and trying to right myself, and they just kept coming. They just kept coming. And I said, "Well, I remember that we're our lives are supposed." Oh, there it goes. There's my little 12-year-old life just flashed before my eyes, and off to my right, I could see a tunnel, and I could see light. And I pulled away, and there was no fear at all. It was really peaceful. And I was like, okay, I'm okay with that. And I started to move towards this, kind of feeling called this way. And again, there was no fear anymore of, holy shit, I'm drowning. And then all of a sudden, I got pulled up by a person. Now the beach is closed. Nobody was there. But this person happened to see me in these waves, which is pretty crazy. And it took me to the shore, sat me down. "You okay? You okay?" I didn't need resuscitation, no emergency, nothing, which made no sense at all. And I said, yeah, I'm fine. And I was, and I watched them walk down the beach and disappear.
Wow.
Yeah.
Don't even know his name.
It wasn't a person. It couldn't have been a person.
Wow.
There was no person there that day. It was just us. And if it was a person, I don't know how they just disappeared. Because I watched them, and then after they evaporated, like literally, that's what happened. I looked back at the ocean, and the waves had been so big that my brother and the lifeguard had no idea what had happened to me. You could not see the shore over the waves. So, I mean, they were way out there, and that was when it hit me, man. I was like, holy crap, I almost just died. Like, I think I did just die, and that was when the humanity set in. That was when I got scared. But going through it, easy. It was easy. I was like, well, that was really simple. It's living that's hard. Why are people afraid to die? Shoot, that's an easy thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, for real.
So
it's been like that.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Well, that kind of experience, and my flatline experience at 47 is the kind of experience that makes you say, so how do I want to live? I mean, if dying is available to us on a daily basis in all kinds of ways, how do I want to live? And how do I use these moments to create a momentous life? And so I think my experience with Airbnb happened at a time where I had lost some of my confidence. I sold my company at the bottom of the market, and it wasn't the end of the world. It wasn't the end of the world. And I didn't have to work, too much. So I was like, I made enough money. So I was like, okay, I'm fine. Probably would have to work for sure again, but I had some time to have a break. But in some ways my sense of, do I have the chutzpah to like go back and try it again? Well, it was these young guys who came to me and said, listen, we need your help. And as it turns out, the things that they hired me for were not necessarily the things they got, they hired me for my knowledge, but what I really offered them was my wisdom. And that was, at the end of the day, a pretty fascinating experience for me to see, wow, knowledge is one thing, wisdom is another. And frankly, these young people don't need knowledge. They can go to Google for knowledge. Google has all of the knowledge of the world. But who do you go for wisdom? And what's your supply chain for wisdom? And so
I like that.
That was, how I ended up there and helping them grow a tiny little company into what's now, worth,
Yeah.
dozens of billions of dollars.
Yeah, enough so you could go take surfing lessons at 57. Was that right?
That's right,
I
exactly.
love that about you.
Started learning to surf and learning Spanish. I learned French when I was a kid. I was a Southern California kid who was clearly an outlier because instead of actually learning how to surf and learning Spanish, I learned French and I learned how to play piano. So that was not the same. So now I'm surfing and learning Spanish at age now 58. I started at 57. So
I absolutely love that about you and the inspiration. I would imagine, I mean, both of us have been to Burning Man, and I can't wait to go back. I'm still a raver, babe. I'm not a candy raver, but anyway, I was just, one of my, hey, I like that. That environment is just so welcoming. It is. However, you want to wear some fairy wings and a hippie headband together, no worries, mate. Yeah, she'll be right. Yeah, no worries. It is just so whatever works is what's good,
Yeah.
Love that.
Well, I've been on the board for Burning Man for about almost a decade now, and what's amazing is the sheer variety of people who go. I think everybody has this impression, it's all these young people with hot bodies, and no, it's like people of all types. I mean, like the average age there is, not in the 20s. Average age is in our 40s at Burning Man. And it's, there's a family camp that has 5,000 people in it. So literally people bring their families. So the families are not all going out and doing drugs together necessarily. Some of them might be, I doubt it, but yeah, it's a full range. I think what's interesting is Brian Chesky said to me, the CEO of Airbnb, when he first went out there in 2013, right after I joined the company, he said, wow, this is like how the world would be if artists ruled the world.
Right on, bro.
Yeah. So I think that's pretty much what it is. It's an artistic utopian experience. You don't have to take drugs. You don't have to get naked. You can if you choose to. Yeah. And you don't have to be a complete raving extrovert. You could be a introvert who likes to go to a few poetry readings there, or maybe do a little dancing, or literally go and meditate, at the outer edges of the ring of Burning Man.
Salt Lake bed.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it's all good. And my philosophy, Chip, just real quick, is it's been boiled down after all this study of spirituality and such, and is real simple. We're all one. It's all good. Let's just go play, Let's play on, player. Like, have a great time. And I one of my Burning Man questions for you was, would I see you in the middle dancing or on the edges? Like,
you'd probably see me on the edges. Yeah. So when I go to Burning Man, I appreciate observing. And so, yes, I could be in the middle. Yes, there's times when I'm absolutely the sage on the stage in the way I live my life. Sort of like, there's a lot of energy, coming toward me, and I'm sort of the sun in the solar system. But at Burning Man, I actually sort of appreciate being on the outskirts and observing, and going to some of the smaller camps and just sort of checking them out, maybe going to a little dance party there, or going and watching a little art show, or so I also I'm not so good at in my real life. I do herd cats a lot, but in my
it's hard to do.
At Burning Man, I don't like that. Like, if I were to say my three least favorite things at Burning Man, number one on the list would be the process of going with a group of people to go out and experience Burning Man with the intent that we're not going to lose anyone. It's like, you know what? Burning Man is about losing yourself, and of course losing everybody else is part of that too. So yeah, if you have the point of view, and what I've heard people, like there were 12 of us, and we had dinner together, and then we were going to go out and do the playa for the night, all 12.
No,
and
you're not.
They try to stay together the whole night. Like, oh my God, in a death storm, or someone meets the love of their life, or like, I mean, really. And so all the other 11 of you are waiting while that person's going off to the tent to have sex with the person, and then they're going to come back out and like, let's keep going. Really? That is how you're going to do your Burning Man experience? No, your Burning Man experience is meant to be communal and meant to be personal at the same time. There's times when it's social, times when it's personal.
Yes.
But if you actually think that you are codependent enough You can't have your Burning Man experience without your best friend. You complete me. No, you don't. You don't complete me. I complete myself, and I'm going to complete this sentence by just saying, don't do Burning Man that way.
No, no. I've always been I've been the dancer in any group, and it's a solo thing. I go to concerts alone. I don't give a shit. I'll meet somebody. It is that codependent thing that people are like, you have to come with me, please. It's like, no, there's a zillion other people that are waiting for you to show up that you can have fun with that are all family.
Well, exactly. There's one of the 10 principles of Burning Man is immediacy. And so immediacy, it's actually it's the 10th of the 10 principles, and it's my favorite. Immediacy basically means you are in the moment and you're able to experience the moment, and you let serendipity have her way with you. She serendipity says, okay, this is where you're supposed to go now. And instead of it being some focus group of your friends trying to decide what's the decision we're going to do next, no, it's like, I'm going to go where the wind is blowing. And that takes me on a path, and all of a sudden I meet these other people I would never have met. And we know traveling, like especially in college or something like that, you go off traveling by yourself in Europe, and it's always, not always, often it's best when you're doing it by yourself.
Totally
because you have
agree.
these happenstance experiences, meet people, become close, and in some ways you shed some of your identity. Like, when you're on your own, you're just whoever you are, and you're not having to live up to someone else's expectation of you, who is your friend, who has always, now all of a sudden looks at you like, well, why are you acting like this? It's like, well, this is another part of my identity that you don't normally get to see.
Yep. I love that. Yep. And guys, I just want to give you a PS for those of you who are listening that have never done anything that adventurous, is that it always works out. It always worked out. You're still fogging a mirror. I mean, we've still made it. I mean, come on now. I got picked up in Alaska I was hitchhiking. I bought a one-way ticket, sold everything, ghosted. I ran away at 26, and I was hitchhiking, and these guys picked me up, and they gave me a ration of shit for hitchhiking by myself. I whipped out the weed. They whipped out the beers. They were like, cool, let's go. Where are you headed, honey? And off we went. I mean, when you're by yourself, things can happen rather than latched on to your buddy thinking that that's going to be your safety zone, because right. Other things, people, places, and all that, it shows up, it works out, but especially on the playa.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's all I will say. I mean, I think people, it's worth going to Burning Man at minimum once. It's worth going with, frankly, there's something positive about going there with people, and maybe actually going to a camp where you have some comfort. And Maslow's hierarchy of needs is relatively important on the playa. But once you go there, it doesn't mean you actually have to spend all your time with those people.
Right. Yeah, especially if it doesn't turn out to be great company, because the quality of our company is only everything in those experiences.
Yeah.
One of the things that you mentioned a little bit ago was the shedding of identity. And I know that that's one of the things that happens in this elder phase of life. It's a second Saturn return, however you want to call it, whatever it is. So how does a person do that, especially when they've built their company? I'm going to switch right into business. How do they do that when they've built a company based on, I'm the leader and we're doing it this way, I'm driving the boat, and then all of a sudden they're like, I need to embrace being vulnerable. That's a girly thing, or whatever. Come on.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, in my book, Wisdom at Work, I say that the process of becoming a modern elder, let me define modern elder. Modern elder is someone who's as curious as they are wise. They're both the mentor and the intern. They are someone who's constantly learning, but also having the opportunity to teach occasionally. And it's that opportunity. The elder of the past was all about just dispensing wisdom and didn't feel like they were constantly learning. But this is I think that elder today is different. And this is different than elderly. Elderly's the last 10 years of your life. This is, when you're 55 surrounded by 25-year-olds, you're probably the elder in the group. So the four themes of my book, the four sort of lessons were, number one, the first lesson is to evolve. You cannot, I don't think you can competently move into being somebody new unless you're ready to let go of somebody you have been.
That's scary as shit for most people, Chip.
It is. I mean, for me, it meant actually stopping, I was no longer CEO of my company. And now I was, helping these three millennial founders. And I was, instead of being the sage on the stage, I was the guide on the side. And that was a shift. My ego had to actually get sort of right sized. And it wasn't about me anymore. And it was really about me supporting these three founders and their company. And that process of actually strategically editing both my identity and even my knowledge of what I knew about hospitality allowed me to have the space to put some more water in my teacup. And the truth is, that's one of the challenges in life, is if you're just accumulating and accumulating and accumulating, which is what we do for the first half of our life.
I got all this shit on me.
Yeah, exactly. You're just like, you're weighed down and you have zero space for the second lesson, which is to learn. And it's evolve and then learn and then collaborate and then counsel. To me, that is the 4-step process to becoming what I was able to become at Airbnb, which was this curious and wise sort of Yoda-like guy who also liked to go to Burning Man, who was hip enough and able to get along with young people enough so that they didn't feel like I was their parent or their priest. I was not preaching to them.
Yes.
And that instead I was there, and they were magnetized to spend time with me, because it was like, you know what? If I learn from you, I accelerate my process of becoming wise myself.
That's just smart. Yeah. That's just smart. There's a delightful soul, Shay Rowbottom, shout out right there, who put on her page, I just think it's so funny because she's like, gotta be half my age. I'm going to be 56. Okay. She's got to be half my age. And she said, I think it's so funny that these older women especially are like, they're like proud of me and they want to like work with me or whatever. And I actually sent her your impact theory show. And I said, you really need to look at this, because now what we're doing is this, sweetie. And it wasn't derogatory, but I mean it. I mean, we see a little sister and she's killing it. Like, of course I'm going to be proud of her. She doesn't have to be my daughter. We can learn from each other. It's just not everybody's mindset is there. She's extremely smart and she'll get this like that, but not everybody will.
So, I mean, the thing is, very much of what we talk about at the Modern Elder Academy, which is a social enterprise, by the way. So meaning over half the people who come are on scholarship. We give scholarships to people. So you don't have money to come and spend $5,000 for the week, with an amazing experience that includes 3 meals a day of healthy food and staying in an upscale, little boutique hotel on the beach and all the training and free massage and et cetera, et cetera. So then you just apply for a scholarship. And so, but what we teach people there is this idea that if you constantly are focused on just proving yourself, and if you define success as winning, you won't try things that you're going to be awkward at. And then actually, strangely enough, your life becomes more and more narrow. Because frankly, your sandbox, you only play in a small sandbox. And then you wonder at age 50 why your life feels so confined and so completely bored. And because you've taken this mindset that says, okay, you're not going to try anything that's going to test you or force you to actually learn something new.
Right. Yeah. I'm done. I'm not going to learn anymore. Really? Because, personal development equals professional advancement. I don't know. I'm just saying, maybe some stuff doesn't work anymore. How about if you just, I don't know, through awareness, acceptance, and action comes change. Just eliminate some things. Hey, let's look at what's working, what's not. One of the other things that I wanted to mention about the Modern Elder Academy, to those of you who haven't checked it out yet, and oh, by the way, I'm totally going to sign up, is that there are also workshops like with Ariel Ford, for those who are looking for the love of their life after 50. There's so much more that's offered. Please go check out the website. It's the Modern Elder Academy. Is it?
It's just modernelderacademy.org. Modern Elder Academy. So know that.
modernelderacademy.org. Check it out, guys. You couldn't ask for a finer location and assembly of amazing minds. And they've got, like a year's worth of workshops already laid out for you. Go check it out. You can't go wrong with that. For real. Real. It's just like right on, Chip. You've done well. And continue to do. So what's ahead for you? What's on, you have done so much. What would be 300 festivals? Hello, are you hiring? I want to be on that team. All I want to do is go to festivals.
Yeah, that was a company I started before I joined Airbnb, which was to go to I wanted to be the world's leading expert on festivals.
That's why I love you. I just love you.
Yeah, like even religious pilgrimages. I was like going to go on all of them. And that was, I mean, in the course of my lifetime, I will definitely look back and say that was crazy. I went to 36 festivals in 20 countries in 2016.
Love it.
Nuts.
No, it's not. It's right.
Right. Thank you. So I'm, what I would just say is this: what's next for me? The good news is I don't have a plan. I know that I'm creating the Modern Elder Academy. It's been very successful. It's been on the front page of the Sunday New York Times, on the front page of the Los Angeles Times, on the cover of Southwest Airlines In-Flight magazine for January. So it's certainly getting some attention. I'm going to continue to invest there, but I don't really know. I mean, the part that's beautiful is to not know.
Are you open to a new idea? It sounds like it.
Go ahead.
I have one. It's called the Midlife My Ass Tour. Yeah.
Tell me more.
Yes. Tucked with a bucket list item under one's arm. We go, a group of us, and we film it. And yes, and it's going to be a series. I can already see it, man. And it's the people that are like, oh hell yeah, I'm gonna do this at the rest of my life. I've got to live out loud somehow. And we just go and do these fun things wherever it is, whatever it is. And Ethel may not want to walk across a pedestrian bridge with the acrylic bottom. That's okay. And all the, there's going to be dynamics, but it's meant to be a show. I can feel it. Midlife My Ass Tour. I'm just getting started.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, like that's a big yes. That's
perfect for YouTube. That would, what you're talking about there. So I love it.
I want to send the clips to the Ellen show. I can totally see sitting on her sofa already.
Yes.
All these women will be like, yeah. I'll be like, go to the Elder Academy. Go. Let yourself go. Learn how to.
Yes.
Because otherwise, if we don't look for how to, we stay in the what was.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can either be a has-been or will be. And I think I'm going to spend my life being a will be, because the has-been piece of it, is frankly, that's your eulogy. I mean, I'm still building my life. I'm not ready for a eulogy yet.
Right. I love that. So for people that are really like, they're so scared, they don't even know to jump off the curb and they think it's like a chasm. Is there a step or advice or something you might have so that they see that it's baby steps that make a bold move, not a freaking leap off the edge in a bat suit?
Well, I think sometimes you actually have to almost take it to the worst, craziest extreme of how bad it could be if it didn't go well. And then you sort of ask yourself, number one, how bad is that? Number two is how likely is that? And number three is it that much worse than what you've currently got?
Yeah.
And I think people, when they really are asked to observe their current life the way it is, that's why we distract ourselves with TV and with drugs and alcohol and all kinds of things, because we are not, I don't think we're in a place where most of us are, where we are open to testing ourselves, because we get so we become creatures of comfort, and that and becoming a creature of comfort leads to apathy, which leads to the downward spiral of life. And so I would just say that is really to me the most important message, is that that is you can live your life that way, and you wonder why you feel like you're living on fumes, you're driving on fumes, and it's partly because you haven't gone and done your refuel. You need to, like, we think as if like the fueling that we got in our teens and 20s is going to take us into our 90s. Of course not. No. You have to refuel yourself.
Yeah, we've got a second refuel station in line, guys. And why wouldn't you try to live out loud? There's all kinds of examples of people who have lived to tell about it. Come on now. I mean, you get what you're looking for. Are you looking for reasons not to step off the curb? Or are you looking for reasons and people that are like, let's go? Because they're all possibilities. All options exist.
Mm-hmm.
You get what you're looking for.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So moving right along into probably the end, I wanted to see if there was anything here I haven't asked you. We've covered a lot. Pretty smooth there, huh?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being who you are.
Thank you.
Yeah. So with the idea that we all have some level of mastery to offer, if a person's never embraced that, or maybe they're aware of it, or they've had a hunch, like I've had a feeling, what would be their next step? Do they look to the outside world? Do they get away from the outside world that's saying, oh no, you don't have that? How does a person who's been entrenched in what we're talking about, and then the pains become so huge that they're fester, boom is what I call it. It bugs you, you forget about it, it festers out, and then boom. It's really inconvenient when that blows up. How do they take that and move? What do they do?
I mean, I don't think that there's a singular way to do it. If you are highly influenced by other people and points of view, ask yourself, even if it's only 10% of your family or friends who could be support for this, how do you build a little support network of that 2 or 3 people who can say, yes, let me just root you on. Let me be your safety net for your emotional insurance, your emotional safety net as you're going through this. That, I think that could be very helpful. For another person, it might be just they have to do it on themselves, and maybe that there's a role model out there in the world. There's Elon Musk, or there's Gwyneth Paltrow. Who knows? Whoever that person is that you look to and say, you know what? I'm going to just read a little bit from them every week, and that by actually sort of tapping into that person as a role model for me, it's going to make me feel stronger. So I just think whatever it is that helps you to realize that as Mary Oliver, the poet, said, what are you going to do with this one precious life you have on this planet? And regret is a very painful emotion. I wrote a book called Emotional Equations. One of the equations in the book is regret. Regret's a painful emotion because you can't do it over again. Right. So regret tends to be something that happens when you sort of have gotten to the place of like, oh shoot, I wish I'd done that. But now you can't do it. Could you do it now? Yes, but you can't do it. If you could have said, hey, my high school sweetheart, that's the person I should have married. Well, they're now happily married. Okay, that's over. You have regret. Right. So what is that? How does that give you some incentive to shift into gear today to find that next soulmate in life? And so the point is, regret is a painful emotion. I also say, I hate when I hear people saying, I have no regrets in life. Wow. If you have no regrets, then either you're really lucky or you haven't learned much. And to me, I find my regrets are beautiful teachers, because they actually help me to see how I could do it differently next time.
You're an observant student of life.
Thank you.
I mean, we could all choose to see, whether it's a mistake or not. It's all part of the process and designed for our higher growth. But that's a show for another day. It has been such a pleasure. Love you. I know that's like we just met and stuff, but I'm just saying you're an amazing being. Guys, Sage right here, like Maslow was the guy back in the day, and you're the guy now. And no, you are.
Thank you.
You bring that to people, and that's the gift. Your mastery is on many levels, but to open the door so other people can see that it's unlocked, and then you open the dance floor, and then they want to dance with you. And it's amazing. Thank you for being on Bold Movers and Shakers.
Thank you. You're just such an ebullient. I don't get to use that word very much, but ebullient means it's a joy. Happiness is a liquid. Happiness is a solid, and joy is a liquid. And the liquid is something that comes from inside of you, and it just sort of bubbles up. And you are bubbling. Thank you. It's been a joy.
Couldn't be any higher compliment. I better cut the camera before I cry. Guys, tune back in to Bold Movers and Shakers. But next time we'll have someone else amazing who's living out loud too. Out loud and proud, yo. See you soon. Right. Bye, guys.